Good morning, everyone. I'll call this meeting of the Human Resources Committee for Friday, June 24th, 2022 to order. We are all here, which is exciting. Although different provinces, we're all in the Zoom together and glad to be with you today. Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest? I do not see Deputy Mayor Ross's video yet, so we'll just see if you can come online and let me know verbally, Mike. That would be great.
Nothing.
Thank
And
you.
I'll turn it on in 1 second. I'm just parking.
No worries. All right, so the next item on the
Already
agenda.
been to Toronto today.
Oh, good for you. I'm in Alberta, so I've got you beat, but I did not fly in this
Beautiful.
morning. I'm really enjoying Zoom for our ability to get together and be active. Oh, who did we just lose? We just lost John.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he went.
Well, we shall keep moving along because we still have quorum, even if we juggle it. Our next item up is the approval of the agenda. So I will suggest that, moved by Deputy Mayor Ross, seconded by Mayor Strathern, that we approve the agenda as circulated. Any comments, questions? Mr. Mayor? Oh, you are very quiet. I don't hear anything. Still nothing.
No, you're not on mute, but I think it might be your microphone isn't toggled over.
Or you've got it running to your earbuds instead, and you need to disconnect them. That has happened to people so many times but I can hear you. Why can't I say anything? Well, because your microphone switched, but your speaker switched and your microphone didn't.
Is this working?
Yep.
Okay. I can't hear you through here, but I can speak to you through here. Okay, so I just like to add 2 items.
2 items. All right, what are those items?
Council Compensation Committee progress and CAO performance progress.
Excellent, thank you. And Deputy Mayor Ross, you also had a comment? Ever mission that you just wanted to speak to those as well?
No, I was just approving that I was moving.
Okay.
Moving or seconding.
All right, excellent. All right, any objections to those additions? I've been looking forward to those as well. If there is not a report today, certainly we can add those to the future agenda for the Council Compensation Committee if we don't have a formal report on that one. Certainly bringing it up, and then I believe we're just going to end up with a recommendation to conduct our CAO performance evaluation today. So those 2 items.
Councillor Cunningham, I'm going to add to the approval of the agenda. I'm just going to add that with the addition of the 2 items.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just give me 1 minute, I'll just correct the wording.
I should probably have, now when you sent me, you'd said you sent minutes as opposed to, so it's minutes for the future one. I should have the motion open in front of me, shouldn't I? Wouldn't that be a lovely idea? There we go. Then I won't be ad-libbing these motions. Not that there's anything wrong with that, Deputy Mayor. So then it will be that the contents of the agenda for the Human Resources Committee meeting for June 24, 2022 be approved with the addition of item, and we'll need to name or number those items. Won't be reports. Would it be, we don't have an other business or new business. Where shall we fit that into our agenda?
I'm going to add it to the 9.7.
Okay. So items 9.7 and 9.8 then, or 9.7A and B.
9.7 council compensation progress and 9.8 CAO. Okay, so the motion as I have it, that the contents of the agenda for the Human Resources Committee meeting for June 24th, 2022 be approved as presented with the addition of item 9.7 council compensation progress and 9.8 CAO performance progress.
Sounds good. All
Thank
those
you.
in favor? You got to vote too, Mr. Mayor, because otherwise we just have one vote. It's carried. I mean, it was
And I
at
just got a
eight.
text from John Main saying that his computer crashed and he'll be on momentarily.
Okay, thank you so much, Deputy Mayor. Next up is the approval of the previous minutes. And so I have a motion here, and we will have this moved by Mayor Strathern, seconded by Deputy Mayor Ross, that the minutes of the Human Resources Committee meeting held May 6, 2022 be adopted as printed and circulated. Are there any errors or omissions you were picking up? All right, all those in favor? And that is carried. Was that a sarcastic green card there, Mr. Mayor? All right, let's just move back into having too many things open. I don't have my printer with me. Normally I print out my motions so that I don't have to go through 3 different windows, but instead, that's what I am doing. So I now have a motion to move into closed session. I just can't find it at the moment. Hold on. Here we go. So it is moved by Deputy Mayor Ross and seconded by Mayor Strathern that the committee move into a closed session in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001, Section 2392, for the purposes of considering the following subject matter. Subsection 2B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, and the matter is staffing update. Are there anyone with concerns about moving into closed at this time? All right, all those in favor then? That is carried, and we are now in closed, Madam.
Chair, I missed where you were. You're out west?
I am in Alberta. I'm in Edmonton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I finished up a week of business, and my son's going to pick me up here at the hotel this morning and take me to his new house.
I have some family out in St. Albert, just on the outskirts of the city.
Nice. Long days here, lots of sunshine right now.
Go drop in and see Michael Jeremy.
There we go, can make it. I'll be here probably 4 or 5 weeks of the year going forward, maybe more. So I could have lots of opportunity to complain that he's not in Midland anymore to him. All right, so one of our new additions. Good morning, Ellery.
Good morning.
Morning.
Waiting for one more.
I believe Lindsay Barron is joining us as well. There she is.
There she is. Morning,
Okay.
Lindsay. Thank you for joining us.
Also, Yvonne Teets from our Midland she had mentioned that she wants to join. So I've just sent her an email that she can log in as well. Just so you're aware, she'll just remain as an attendee.
Thank you. So that brings us to the motions arising from our closed session that we just came out of. And it is moved by Deputy Mayor Ross, seconded by Councillor Main, that the Human Resources Committee receive as information the verbal update provided by the Chief Administrative Officer. Are there any comments or questions on that? And all those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Which brings us to the reports and starts at item 9.1, our recruitment update, and our talent recruiter to provide a verbal update.
Thank you. So since our meeting in May, there have been a total of 20 open recruitments, including seasonal and contract roles, and 15 of those recruitments have been filled. In general, we have continued to see larger applicant pools of qualified candidates for many of our postings, and our 20 recruitments are for budgeted approved positions.
Wonderful. Are there any comments or questions for Ms. Telford Gill? That is a happy report. I know that we all realize that we are struggling to attract people in every municipality. And so that 15 out of 20 filled is magnificent. Congratulations. And thank you so much for your diligent work.
Thank you.
And we do then have a motion to receive the update. So I'm not sure. Madam Clerk, I don't actually have a motion for that to receive the verbal update. I can
No, the
ask-
information is just, or the items received for information.
Okay, no motion required. All right, excellent. So that brings us to item 9.2, holiday observance and closure schedule for 2023. We have an attachment to the agenda here outlining this. Did anybody from staff want to speak to this item? Seeing nothing, that's fine, considering it's very, very straightforward. So if you're going, what would I say? There is an attachment with a proposed schedule. Are there any comments or questions about this attachment, Deputy Mayor Ross?
Thank you. I'm always depressed at past this one. Already 2023, we're approving holidays, but yeah, it's one of the ones that always get to me. Wow, it's already, I can't believe another year's gone by, but yeah, no problem. Let's approve it.
All right, thank you. So I will have this motion moved by Deputy Mayor Ross and seconded by Mayor Strathern, that staff report HRHS 2022-02, setting out the 2023 holiday observance and closure schedule dated June 25th, 2022 be received, and 1, that the town of Midland municipal offices be closed end of day Friday, December 22nd, 2023 through Monday, January 1st, 2024, and reopen for regular business hours on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024, as recommended by the Human Resources Committee. 2, that any new holiday observances be held until such times as the province has passed additional holiday legislation. And are there any further comments or questions on this? Then we will ask all those in favor. That is carried. We have plans right up until 2024. Thank you. The next item up, item 9.3, is the life events recognition policy, and we have a draft attached to the agenda. Did anybody want to speak to this from staff? All right, and then are there any comments or questions for staff on this item? So the attachment just formalizes a portion of our council budget in which, when a significant life event happens for staff, council, and perhaps prominent members of our community who have been in the limelight and helping us out so much and contributing, that we formalize how we recognize them, which of course, most of us in this room are all about processes so that we have consistency. And what this does is add consistency to this practice. The only variant on it really is for those people who are not on staff or council, it be approved by the mayor or CAO, as that comes to our attention, that would be the person we would bring that to, should we wish to activate the policy for that person. Are there any comments or questions? Councillor Main.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just reading the list quickly of what the life events would be for, marriages, some good news, some bad news, birth of children, hospitalization, or even death of a family member. The question is, not to dilute the list, would professional accreditations be significant enough to be a life event? So for example, if Sherry gets her an award from the AMCTO, or becomes a certified clerk, or Mitch Sobel is a PNG or something like that, is that not quite significant enough to be categorized as a life event? I fully support this. I think this is a great initiative, but just curious about some of the other things which are nice things that you want to celebrate that may not fall under this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Main. That is an interesting question, because certainly we celebrate those things, maybe not with a card or a gift. And we see that often it will be our HR or our CAO who will come and celebrate those additional significant achievements. And I don't believe that would take that away, but we'll make sure that that is the case. I think I see Ms. Vanderbeek nodding and smiling. You can just confirm that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to Councillor Main. We did not include certifications and education in this, in the sense that the purpose of this policy is to recognize and work with, donations to charities of choice, depending on the nature of the event, or maybe a gift basket for the birth of a child. So the type of recognition for certifications and some of those big milestones would be done more internally as opposed through this specific policy.
Thank you. Any further comment or question on this item? Councillor Main.
Oh, I really appreciate these initiatives. They're so meaningful and so impactful. Even the short little email from Brittany yesterday, summer student profile, talking about Rejoice, like those are just some really nice feel-good stories that I just love the attention to detail and the focus on celebrating all staff and kind of makes it feel like a big family. So anything that we can do that really enhances that small town charm that we have here is greatly appreciated by all. So thank you.
Thank you. And just one question on my part is the process that I suggested, that should council or staff have awareness of something happening outside of our employees and want to bring that to action in this policy, is that then an email CCing both the mayor and CAO in order to get them considered in this, or is it an email to the HR department?
I can address that, Madam Chair. The purpose of that would be then, I would say, to email the mayor and the CAO, and the CAO can direct it to HR. We'll be the ones administering the process and arranging any recognition that needs to be done. But if it's an external thing, I think it would be great to come through those channels.
Thank you. And I don't know if that could then be a clause added for future councils to know how to activate this. That might be something that would be valuable to put in place. So I guess that might, I haven't got the motion on the table, but it would be a proposed amendment to the motion that with the addition of a clause that instructs how to add those non-staff, non-employee members to the process. So if I'm going to follow protocol here, or belatedly, I am going to put the motion on the table, add any objections to me adding that amendment in right now, or do we want a separate motion for that? Madam Clerk, what is my obligation there?
If you could repeat the amendment, and then if you have support for the amendment, then we can just include it in the main motion.
Okay, so it would probably be added to part 2 of the motion. So it'd be that the proposed life events recognition policy be adopted with the addition of a clause to indicate how to add an external, or to add a member of the community to, that's not it, it's not add, it's to activate recognition of a member of the community.
Sorry, Madam Chair, did you call the vote on the amendment? Everybody supported it? I may have missed that.
I'm writing. No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
So just writing the addition of a clause indicating how to activate recognition for a member of the community. So can I get an indication with nods or waves whether this would be an acceptable amendment? Got some 3 thumbs up. So yes, Madam Clerk.
That's perfect.
All right. Did you want to read that motion for us, or would you like me to stumble through what I've got here, Madam Clerk?
I can read it for you if you'd like.
Thank you.
I don't know if you had a mover and seconder.
We will have that moved by Councillor Main, seconded by Mayor Strathern, if that is acceptable to the both of you. Looking good.
That staff report HR-HS 2022-03 Life Events Recognition Policy dated June 24th, 2022 be received, and that the Human Resources Committee implement the Life Events Recognition Policy for staff and council, and that the proposed Life Events Recognition Policy be adopted with the addition of a clause indicating how to activate recognition of a member of the community.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? All those in favor? And that is carried, which brings us to item 9.4, and I am going to read the motion before we discuss. Then I will make sure I've got it actually on the table here. So we'll have this moved by Deputy Mayor Ross and seconded by Mayor Strathern that staff report HS 2022-04 Finance Department role realignments dated June 24, 2022 be received, and that one, that the position of financial officer be elevated to accounting analyst, and two, that the staff complement and budget be adopted accordingly. Any discussion on this one? So I did myself have a question on this item and was wondering, because there are two vacant roles and one of those vacant roles is being elevated, is the one being elevated. Sorry, there are two vacant roles. One of those vacant roles is the budget and financial analyst position, and the elevation is to a position of analyst. Has it been considered to combine the two roles? And again, not knowing the intricacies of the job descriptions, but the two vacant roles that are being sought, is that an option that is potential in this department? Ms. Barron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to thank the committee for considering this request. I would say no. So the workload is I would say too large for that. So the budget analyst position is largely there to support the budget process, the departments throughout the year as they're working through their budgets, the asset management side of the accounting, and this position, the financial officer position, is really more of the day-to-day accounting work that needs to be done. And what we've seen is with the emergence of CXO and some of the realignments that we've made, and the positions in the finance department really have evolved, and I would say need to evolve further. With a number of initiatives that we have, some of which grant funded and some of which require, sort of timely reaction and input from the finance department. We really need to alleviate the senior level staff from those day-to-day transactional work that they're currently doing, to focus on modernizing our systems so that we can really move forward, become that modern finance department that I believe this organization needs. One of the first things I did when I got here, and I do recognize that I've only been here a month, but was to sit down with all of the finance staff, get an idea of what it is they're doing, what challenges they face, what it is they'd like to do. And in those conversations, it did become pretty evident that there is a hole, and yes, part of that hole will be filled by our budget analyst position. But the other hole is really in that sort of that day-to-day higher level accounting work that I do feel this position would solve those challenges. It is a substantial ask. I do realize that, sort of outside of the normal budget process. We do feel that there is room in this year's budget to cover it. We have some significant gapping positions that have been unfilled for quite some time. And as well as we continue to cycle in new staff, staff are not quite at job rate, so that in itself creates some salary gapping. In order to be transparent, we did want to come forward to the committee today because we do realize that this is an ask that is beyond 2022 as well. So happy to answer any other questions that the committee has at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bear. And I appreciate the clarification. Often reading the report, you cannot tell where the emphasis is. Is it that the posted position wasn't attractive enough to attract any candidates with the skill? Or was it that as that was recognized, it became an opportunity to look more for filling that hole? So it sounds like it was more the second rather than the first, that as you recognized that it couldn't be filled and you were looking in your first month, kind of up and scrambling and pulling that together. I appreciate that added flavor to this concept, to this decision-making process. I have a question, I think, for the rest of the committee. I'm a little uncomfortable adding this level of addition to an already passed budget, and wonder, at this point, it looks like this has been set as a motion to have HR committee decide this for implementation, as opposed to bring it to council for consideration. Do we have any other people on the committee concerned about that as well? Mr. Mayor.
I'm not so concerned about altering the budget. I'm more concerned about getting the analytics in place and to be able to upgrade the capacity of finance to operate in the 21st century, I guess. I mean, since I've been on council, it's almost 8 years now. I've been waiting for this sort of thing to happen, where you're starting to put systems in place, and that will allow you to the municipality to grow without necessarily having the organization that provides service to the residents growing at the same rate or faster. And I think by putting a person in who's going to deal with these issues, I hope that it's money well spent. There's identified that there are funds in the current budget to pay for the position, and then council would then be looking at that position in the 2023 budget. I think it's money well spent. If we could get to a place where we're modernizing our systems and breaking down silos amongst different divisions. So for me, it's I don't share the concern. I realize that you can't be just changing budgets willy-nilly all the time, but we're not seeing a lot of that happen. There is gapping that's been identified, at least in this budget year. And anyway, I just think that it's money well spent. So I don't have a concern that way.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other opinions on that? And again, my concern isn't that it isn't money well spent. It's that this committee, do we have delegated authority to change a previously passed budget? I saw that Mr. CAO has his hand up with some input.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarity on what we're requesting, I think part of what was our consideration is in attracting talent for this type of position in a highly competitive market. I was looking at the open finance jobs across the province today, and I think there's over 300 of them. To find somebody capable of performing this role, I think we do have to be more competitive than the market, and it's just what the market we feel requires. Whether we're successful in attracting a candidate remains to be seen. You saw Ellery's update on some of the progress we've made. I think the context of that, this has been over quite some time, and we've had to cast the net 2 or 3 times for some of these positions that we've been able to fill, but other positions start to open up. The impact of that on the budget is significant in the terms of gapping, and that's a term that we use, which is the amount that we've allocated in the budget for salaries, but which we have not spent because we haven't been able to fill some positions or people aren't at their maximum compensation value. So we committed $400,000 in the budget this year for that. We will overachieve that. We overachieved it last year because we can't fill the positions fast enough. So that's over $400,000 committed. We can manage this in this year's budget. It's not a question of, the request that Lindsay's making, that additional funds, if we should find somebody, we can manage that in this year's budget. That's not a concern, and we'll certainly have to include it in the next budget that will come forward before the next council. But we just wanted to be transparent in terms of bringing this in front of HR, saying, listen, we need to do this. We're going to increase this. We're going to budget manage it. And we'll bring forward our staffing needs in the next budget that the council, the new council will have to consider. But there's no question, I think, that having a strong financial team is part of the longer term strategy of making Midland successful. This council's been, I think, very good at making very difficult decisions that have to be made to ensure this town is going to be sustainable. And we're seeing the fruits of that. You're seeing rehabilitation in roads, you're seeing rehabilitation at the harbor, you're seeing rehabilitation on streets and beautification. You're seeing all kinds of things that this town needs. We've got a 10-year capital plan that says we have a lot to do. We have a lot to do in this town, and we can't continue to delay doing that rehabilitation that's needed. In order to do that, though, you need a strong finance team to help you manage the debt, manage the investment, manage the budget, and manage the expenses. So that is a really critical part to making sure Midland is sustainable. So, as Lindsay is quite skilled in managing these types of teams, she's had a look at what she feels we need. And I certainly support her ask in trying to get someone of this caliber to fill that position. Thank
you, Mr. CAO. And I agree with all those comments. My concern is just, and I don't know whether I need to pass the chair in order to, I won't support having the HR committee add 37,000 to a past budget without bringing it in front of council. I don't think our council would disagree that this is a great move, that this is absolutely necessary, absolutely important. Obviously, clearly identified that this is a very wise and considered move. I'm just not comfortable passing it at the HR level and not bringing it to council. However, that said, as the chair with no people in agreement, I will read the motion in. I'm seeing no support for my concerns. Mr. Mayor?
Well, let's see if we can get an answer to that. I mean, we're not actually adding to the budget. The budget's in place, it was approved, and there's room within the budget as approved to make changes. I mean, that's any organization's going to be doing that on an ongoing basis. I think the real question here is whether this committee has the authority to commit to an FTE is really what I think you're saying, or at least elevating an FTE. The FTE is already there, so it's a wage increase. And I for myself, and I don't know about the others, but since the FTE is already there, we're talking a wage increase, and that you're right. It's kind of a foggy area about which is it in our lane or isn't it? And my sense of it is in the staff side of things, you approved the budget, the FTE is approved. The question is, can I afford to promote with the FTE and have the funds to cover it? And it sounds like, to my mind, they do, and therefore it's really, this is almost a courtesy to council and letting us know that this is a restructure within an allocated FTE and within the allocated budget. So that's why I feel that it's within staff's purview to continue to do that. And I would presume that when the minutes come out, or there would be some announcement that to full council that this has actually happened. But in the context of there is an FTE, there is a budget approved, and we're just letting you know that we're shifting emphasis to a different syllable sort of thing. But I do agree, it's with your concern. I mean, I hadn't thought of it in that context until you raised it, so I've just been muddling through my own thought processes, and I think it's fair to say that it still falls within the purview of staff, given the budget and the FTE are both approved, and they have surplus in the budget too. Now, whether that surplus exists in the next budget, that's another question.
Mr. CAO, was that
Yeah, if I may, Madam Chair, I think that's exactly right. Again, and we did consider quite frankly, we think this is within the purview of the administration to make this adjustment because we can budget manage this. So I absolutely agree with that sentiment. However, given where we are with an election looming, we really felt it was important to be transparent in managing something like this. As well, we also wanted to make sure that people understood the importance of the role and why it is so important for the sustainability of Midland. It's not going to be a budget concern for us. Again, by the time we fill this position, should it be, should we be approved? And if we're able to get a candidate, you're going to be so far down the year that the impact on the budget is really fairly minimal. So from a budget perspective for 2022, it's not a concern. For 2023, when we come forward with the budget with our staffing ask, that will be a consideration for the new council. Are they willing to support a staffing ask that includes a position of this nature going forward? And that's where, we'll have to get the feedback from the new council on whether they support that staffing ask. But certainly the intent of this was to be fully transparent. We wanted to make sure when we went out to market, people would see that we're looking for, someone at an elevated level. There might be questions asked. Well, that doesn't seem to be consistent with what was in there before. How come the change? We wanted to make sure people understood why we're considering that level of change. So we did feel it was, imperative that we make this transparent, bring it forward to HR committee for consideration. If you feel it needs to go to council for some consideration as well, that's certainly fine with us, but it was really about transparency.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I'm going to try my recommended amendment and see if I do have any support. I'm not sure, Madam Clerk, how I would word this. I'm not sure that I'll get the support, but I'll aim at this. I would like us to consider amending the motion that item 2 then be changed, both 1 and 2, that the recommendations be brought to council, that the position of financial officer be elevated to accounting analyst, and 2, that the recommendation be brought to council, that staff complement and budget be adopted accordingly. Would I have any support for that amendment? Deputy Mayor would support that. So not seeing support to get that amended, there's only the 2 of us. So I shall read in the motion as, I guess I've read this motion in. Madam Clerk, do you recall?
I believe you had, because we do have a mover and a seconder.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So I will call all those in favor. 3 in favor, against 1. And so that is carried. Which brings us to item 9.5, job evaluation and pay equity project update. Manager of Human Resources to provide a verbal update.
Thank you.
Councilor Main, you.
Yeah, before we move on to this next item, can I just get a little bit of clarification from staff on this, on the last item? So we had an internal promotion from the financial officer. So that current position was vacant, hence the notion to upgrade to the accounting analyst and then go back to market. Because, okay, that's what we've just decided. Yeah, because we've really struggled trying to bring in that business analyst. It almost dates back to last term. So best of luck with finding that position. It seems to be a really tricky specialization, financial specialization that would be really helpful. But cast the rod out into the ocean and see what we find. So thank you.
Is there
You are going fishing this weekend, are you?
No, a lot of fishing metaphors. It's just.
So I'm wondering, when's the family fishing event coming up? That's got to be soon if Councillor Main's casting his rod out so much these days. All right, that brings us to item 9.5, job evaluation and pay equity project update. Again, so our Manager of Human Resources.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick verbal update on that we are moving along in that process. It's looking great. I believe the contract will be going out next week. So the project is slated to start very shortly. And sort of touching on 9.7, council remuneration is one of the top priorities for that project and will be phased in phase 1 for you.
Thank you so much. Any comments or questions on this? This is exciting. It's been years getting ready to start, and so I'm so
Yes.
happy that you're moving this forward, Ms. Vanderbeek. Mr. Mayor.
So when is this scheduled to come back to council?
I don't have a schedule yet. When I meet with the consultant, once the contract's signed, I can confirm that.
So if the council compensation matter is part of this, we're not going to see it in this term of council, would be my guess.
No, the intention is to have it to this council for consideration.
Thank you.
My assumption was the same as Mr. Mayor, so thank you for asking that question. But we'll see this next year. Someone will see this next year. So
no, it
that's
should be to this
that.
council for consideration.
Excellent, thank you. All right, I don't think I have a motion on that. I've been not bopping back and forth between my motions. Have I missed any motions? 9394. No, excellent. That brings us to item 9.6, Flex Policy Update. Again, our Manager of Human Resources to provide a verbal report.
Yeah, just another quick update on that, because I know it's a conversation or a topic of conversation. We are rolling, that is building. We've rolled out the right to disconnect policy, which was part of the quality of work life program. So the flex policy is still developing. We've been looking at different opportunities for the different types of roles and departments so that options are available to all of our staff to apply for. And we are hoping to have that rolling out by the end of summer along with the rest of the program together. So at this point, the intent is to have the program now come forward as opposed to just individual policies.
Thank you. Any comments or questions, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to Vanderbeek. There's an item, it's a confidential item on Tuesday's County Council agenda. It has to do with difficulties in recruiting, and that lays out a shift in how they're, sounds very similar to what you're doing here. And I'm just wondering, do you get together with your county counterparts and the counterparts within the county itself, the other communities, to discuss these sort of things? Because it looks like I actually haven't read it. I just got back from St. Catharines, but it seems that it's a pretty comprehensive look at how to get around, not get around, but to resolve attraction, retention through these sorts of what I think will be some of what comes out of the flex policy and so on. So I guess the question is, are you aware of this? And if not, you might want to just reach out to them, see what they're up to, because my initial quick read was it was kind of interesting. And they're experiencing the same problem. So are you, is there I know the CAOs get together and so on.
Ms. Vanderbeek?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the Mayor. Yes, we do have a Simcoe HR group that we meet virtually regularly. There is a pause for the summer, but we are still through email sharing our policies and struggles, and we're constantly in communication just to see what everyone's doing and how to be competitive and keeping our finger on the pulse that way. So yeah, it's a really valuable group.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? And we have Councillor Main.
Any update on when we can start meeting in person again? I'm getting a little tired of these Zoom meetings, and I really want to just go back into council chambers. I do appreciate the technology that people can be participating in their meeting from halfway across the country. That's awesome. The technology is there, and now that we're using it. I just miss you guys. You know, I'm just tired of zooming in. You know, Mike zooming in from a car, wherever wherever he is. And I know there's lots of thoughts and considerations on how to make that work. Trying to fit a lot of people into a small room is still not that good of an idea. But anyways, any updates on that? Because anyways, thank you.
We will allow that within this item. I think it fits very nicely. Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to Councillor Main. I think certainly at the will of the committees or council, we're ready to accommodate those types of meetings. I think, the example of the chair being out in Alberta just demonstrates, I think the advantage of having a hybrid solution. And we've tested that recently with one of our board meetings. And, once you get used to the mics, it works quite well. So we're really pleased with how the technology and the setup works. So we're certainly willing to accommodate that at any time. On a humorous note, we had the other day, we were on a virtual meeting and we discovered that everyone on the virtual meeting was actually in town hall. So we went to a meeting room and it was refreshing to actually see faces again.
Thank you, Mr. CAO. If I can suggest as well, when that does happen, that there be lots of notice, as well as so that people can say, you will have to drive, you will have to wear pants. So you can put it into their schedule, get dressed, put drive time into your planning. Any other questions on the flex policy update? All right, thank you so much for that. And I'm not going to let you off the hook yet, Ms. Van de Beek, because you're going to very quickly touch back on item 9.7 since it's now on our agenda. Council Compensation Committee update. Is there any other conversation around that we would like to have here? Any questions? All right, I think we have a good indication of that answer already. And next up then is item 9.8, our CIO performance evaluation program. Mr. Mayor, would you speak to that to get it on the table?
It's just we have talked about doing a performance evaluation prior to close of this term of council, and I just wondered where it was at from a timing perspective.
Thank you. Ms. Van de Beek, do you have an answer for us there?
Yes, so that is currently under development. I'm hoping to have that out to council in the upcoming weeks. So it will be a summer project for council to complete, and we'll also be doing a 360 internally. So there'll be a report to this council before the end of council term with the results of all that.
Excellent. Any other questions around that? So we have done, as this council, one performance evaluation before. Will there be a little bit of training, and perhaps, I don't know, Ms. Van de Beek, if you have access to the previous performance evaluation council has participated in, so that in theory we have an idea of what that should look like, but not necessarily a recollection of how to complete it in an HR level fashion. So I'm wondering if there will be a little bit of a closed session or a training on how we can do that.
Yeah, I can absolutely arrange a closed session and do some training with council in preparation for that coming out.
I think that would make a real difference in how to effectively, with no HR education, perform our role in that. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on item 9.8? Wow, well, we have scooted along. I have a feeling as I bring our adjournment motion on, there'll be all kinds of little announcements and stuff because we aren't in the room and we can't go for coffee afterwards, but I shall nonetheless bring forward this motion moved by Deputy Mayor Ross, seconded by Councillor Main, that this Human Resources Committee meeting be adjourned at 9:58 a.m. Ontario time. All those in favor? Thank you. We stand adjourned.
Enjoy Alberta.